Imagine getting some extra workouts in at 3 a.m. at your team's practice facility, getting ready for training camp next week. Your team made it back to the conference finals last season after 20 years, and you can't wait to run it back. Then, out of nowhere, a janitor informs you that you have to leave because you've just been traded. Yeah, that's how wild Karl Anthony Towns' morning must have been, along with any fan who thought the possibility of a blockbuster trade was dead. What a wake-up call! But before we get into the details, don't forget to like and subscribe for more NBA content. So here we are. The Minnesota Timberwolves just traded Karl Anthony Towns to the New York Knicks for Julius Randle and Dante Divincenzo. This trade sent shockwaves through the NBA. But was this a smart move for both teams? Let's break it down and figure out what's going on in the minds of both franchises, and of course, what this means for their futures. Well, the Knicks have been dealing with some serious big man problems. Mitchell Robinson, their starting center, is hurt again and will miss the start of the season. This guy is practically made of glass at this point. Not to mention, Isaiah Hartenstein is gone too. He packed his bags and headed to Oklahoma City, leaving the Knicks front court looking more like a ghost town than a championship contender. So what do you do when your big men are down for the count? You make a bold move, and that's exactly what the Knicks did. They needed someone who could hold down the fort, and Towns is just that guy. But here's the real question. Will Karl Anthony Towns be their permanent starting center, or will he move to power forward once Robinson heals up and returns to the lineup? Because we all know that Towns is one of those versatile players who can stretch the floor, hit threes, and score in the post, but some critics think he's too soft to be a true center. Now, we can't ignore the fact that the Knicks had a pretty tight-knit group of players, especially the Villanova boys, Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, and Dante Divincenzo. That little reunion had Knicks fans thinking they were watching a college all-star team. But now, the crew's been broken up with Divincenzo headed to Minnesota in the trade. Let's be real though, Divincenzo wasn't exactly thrilled with his role in New York. He wasn't going to be getting the minutes or shots he was getting the season prior, and with the Knicks already having a guard-heavy lineup, his chances of breaking through were slim. Maybe this trade was a blessing in disguise for him. He'll likely get more playing time in Minnesota, and the Knicks get the big man they've been craving. But with Cat in the fold, the Knicks lineup is going to need some adjusting. Will he slide into the center spot until Robinson returns? Or will they play him at power forward, letting Robinson take over the paint when he's back? Either way, Towns gives them a lot more options on both offense and defense. Now let's talk about Julius Randle. After his roller coaster of a career in New York, it seems he's finally found a new home in Minnesota. Randle has always been a tricky player to figure out. One season he's an all-star, and the next, Knicks fans are ready to run him out of town. So what's the plan for him in Minnesota? Will he become the Timberwolves' sixth man, or is he still a key player? If he does take on the sixth man role, this could actually be great for him. Some players thrive when they come off the bench, bringing energy and scoring without the pressure of being a starter. At this point in Randle's career, this might just be the best role for him. And who knows, maybe playing alongside Anthony Edwards and the young Timberwolves squad will reignite something in him. Minnesota has a lot of talent, and Randle could add some veteran leadership and experience that helps them make another deep playoff run. Minnesota fans must be feeling some type of way about this trade. After years of struggling to get out of the first round of the playoffs, the Timberwolves finally made it to the conference finals last season. Karl Anthony Towns was a huge part of that run. So why trade him now? Some critics say the Timberwolves don't trust Towns anymore. Maybe they didn't want to pay him max money, or perhaps they bought into the idea that Towns is too soft to play center and doesn't bring enough toughness to the table. Others argue that Towns has a tendency to shoot his team out of games, taking too many ill-advised shots when they need someone to dominate inside. The Timberwolves are also going all in on Naz Reid, who's been a great player for them. Reid and Towns played well together, but clearly Minnesota thinks Reid is the future of their front court. He's younger, cheaper, and maybe they believe he has more potential to grow into a star. Still, trading a player like Towns is risky. You're giving up a former All-Star who could put up 25 points and 12 rebounds on any given night. But if Minnesota believes that this is what they need to do to build a better team around Anthony Edwards, then maybe it's worth the gamble. Divincenzo is one of those guys who just seems to fit in wherever he goes. He's a solid role player who can shoot, play defense, and contribute without needing to be the star of the show. Minnesota is probably hoping that he can bring some of that experience and winning mentality to their locker room. He'll also be another veteran presence for guys like Anthony Edwards and rookie Rob Dillingham. Edwards is clearly the future of the Timberwolves, and having guys like Divincenzo around will help him continue to grow into the leader they need him to be. Knicks fans have been dreaming of a return to the finals for decades now. With this trade, they've added a major piece in Karl Anthony Towns, but is it enough? Sure, Towns is a great player, but the Knicks will still need everything to go right if they want to make a serious run at a championship. The Eastern Conference is no joke. Teams like the Milwaukee Bucks, Boston Celtics, and Philadelphia 76ers aren't going anywhere. But Towns does give the Knicks a legitimate big man who can stretch the floor and open things up for guys like Jalen Brunson and OG Anunoby. If Mitchell Robinson can get healthy and stay healthy, the Knicks could have one of the most formidable front courts in the league. A duo of Robinson and Towns with Brunson running the show at point guard sounds pretty scary for opposing teams. But again, it all depends on how well this group meshes together and if they can stay off the injury report. If we're handing out grades, this trade probably deserves a solid B+ for both teams. The Knicks addressed a major need by getting a star big man, and the Timberwolves got some solid role players in return, along with resolving a potential financial issue. For the Knicks, it's a move that could put them in contention for a deep playoff run. But it's not a guaranteed ticket to the finals. There are still a lot of questions that need to be answered, like how well Towns will fit in with their current roster and whether Robinson can come back and play at a high level. For the Timberwolves, this trade gives them more flexibility financially and on the court. They can build around Anthony Edwards and Naz Reid while adding valuable veterans like Divincenzo. But losing a player of Towns' caliber will definitely sting, especially after they seem to have turned a corner with their playoff success last season. It feels like a win-win for both teams, but only time will tell if this trade will truly pay off for either side. Do you think this trade will be able to propel either or both teams to the finals? Check out these two videos if you enjoyed this one.